All right, today we're making pumpkin black bean soup. This soup is full of delicious fall flavors. It uses the pumpkin as a thickener, so you don't have to add any like creamy ingredients. The pumpkin has a nice creaminess that it brings to the soup and a gorgeous fall color. So I'm Jen from Pressure Cooking Today, and let's get started. This soup is based on the pumpkin chorizo soup in Barbara's cookbook, the Electric Pressure Cooker Cookbook. It's one of my favorite soups, but it was a little bit spicy for the kids with the chorizo. So we have kind of toned it down and simplified it so that it's a more kid-friendly but still delicious option. So to make things really easy, we'll start by adding the chicken broth and the spices and the onion. And got a lot of spices that are commonly found in chorizo, the paprika, cumin, pepper, and salt. And again, if you like things spicy, feel free to add chorizo. If you are worried, you can even tone it down further from this. So we've got our spices and our onions. If you wanted to take the time, you could saute the onions in a tablespoon of oil just to soften them, but I was going for quick when we made this one. So now we'll just add our ground pork. The cooking pot, don't splash. Okay, we got that in there. And then sometimes tomatoes and pumpkin can settle on the bottom and burn. That's not a problem we've had with any of the pressure cookers that we've tested, but we know that there are others out there that we haven't, and it's happened to some of our readers in the past. So we just like to add our pumpkin right on top of the pork, just to keep it off the bottom. If a little falls in, it's not a big deal. Just have a can of pumpkin puree. You want to make sure that when you are buying it that it's actually the pure pumpkin or pumpkin puree, not the pumpkin pie option. You'd be real sad. That one has the pumpkin pie seasonings in it. So just the pure pumpkin puree. And there we go. Got that in there. And we will add our tomatoes and just kind of pour the liquid in and then add them. Just kind of put them on top. And again, if some fall in, it's not a big deal. So we just dumped everything in, and now we will lock the lid in place. All right, so we've got our sealing ring in place. Go ahead and lock it in place. It's a 5-minute cook time with a 10-minute pressure release, and we'll come back at once it's ready. Okay, so we did our 10-minute release, and now we're going to kind of break up the pork. Right now we've got kind of larger chunks of pork in there, and you can use a spoon, or I've got this little hamburger chopper that I love using for ground meat to just kind of break it down into smaller pieces. I like pretty small pieces because I like to get a little bite of ground pork in most spoonfuls. My husband likes a little bit bigger pieces. Just kind of do what works for you. All right, so we've got the meat broken down, and now we're gonna add the beans. Usually we'll add beans to our recipes before we pressure cook, but because we separated the pork after cooking, we waited to add the beans until after. We'll just go ahead and pour them in. And then I'll use the ladle to give it a stir. Okay, and then we have a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. I love it with the heavy cream. My husband said he thinks it should be optional, but I just love the way that it lightens the soup and it adds just a little creamy mouthfeel to it. So, all right. And I think we are about ready to serve it. We went pretty light on the salt for this recipe. This is a fairly low sodium recipe, especially if you use like a low sodium broth. So just keep that in mind. You'll want to taste it at this step, and I almost always add a decent amount of more salt. So, but I know that some of our readers have been looking for kind of lower salt recipes, so we decided to leave this one a little bit lower sodium so that people could customize it to their family's tastes. So we will get it dished up. All right, so I'm just gonna get a nice scoop. There we go. Layer that in. You can see that yummy pork with the black beans. The soup, I love the day we make it, but I think it tastes so much better the next day. The broth kind of thickens up, it takes, the flavors meld, it's fantastic. I always like to top it with a little bit of cilantro. If you like, you could just add it straight to the soup. Some of my kids don't love it, so we usually keep it separate and just use it for topping. And then we'll eat it with chips or in a bread bowl or just whatever. So if you have any questions or comments, let us know down below. And if you make it, please let us know. And thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more pressure cooking videos. Thanks.